welcome back to the RC Barn. Happy Thanksgiving. Sorry, it's been a while since I've uploaded regularly. Everything's in just stalled out with waiting for parts and stuff. The calls are in, I'm waiting for parts. And yeah, and I haven't done a live stream because it's been work demand. So anyways, I thought we'd get another project on. This one's been kind of coming for a long time, but I haven't, well, I'll explain. So anyways, as you can tell from the title, the Ryan Showdown, these are about Ryan STAs. In my opinion, a very beautiful and elegant looking model. Something that I've wanted to model for a very long time. I just like the lines of it can be a race plane, it can be private transportation, it was military. I mean, there was just a lot of different variants of it and stuff. You got the STA, which is the A stand for aerobatic, the STM, which was military. So anyways, let me show you what we got going on here. This is going to be kind of an interesting project and how I'm going to go about getting two of these ready to fly. So anyways, let me pan you here. Now, some of my older guys that been around for a long time will recognize the green fuselage. This is a Byron Ryan. I have attained this fuselage a very long time ago, 6-7 years ago or something like that. And this is all I have. I just have this fuselage. I don't have tail surfaces. I don't have wings. What you see is what I have. So we got landing gear. It's been started, but you know, landing gear post for the Byron landing gear and that. I don't have a cowl. I don't have fairings or nothing like that. So gonna have to start looking and hunting and seeing what we can find. Otherwise, it's gonna be a complete scratch build from here forward. Anybody that knows Byron knows that this would have had foam wings and foam tail surfaces and that. Good quality stuff for, you know, 70s and 80s. But a lot of guys upgraded this to a balsa built up wing and balsa tail surfaces for scale outlines and stuff like that. So that's what I plan on doing, because I'm not going to start trying to cut cords and that. It's not what I do here. So anyways, how are we going to get there? Well, let me just get the box over here. I acquired a Sig Ryan STA, that way. Sig Ryan STA Special. This is a very old kit. I think they were produced in the early mid 70s. I know that Sig competed with these back in the day. So it's a my name is Maxie Hester. Competed with these in the scale nationals and that in the early 70s. It won control line scale nationals in '87. Maxie also won second place in 1970 and third place in '72. So very scale outline. What the Byron is not known for. The Byrons were a little they were off in certain areas to make them more flyable. Nothing was truly over the top scale for these planes. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. So anyways, the Byron Ryan, the difference is the Byron Ryan has a 90-inch wingspan and the Sig Ryan has a 62-inch wingspan. This is known as quarter scale for the Byron, and I haven't done the math on the Sig, but assuming that's probably 1/5 scale or 1/6 scale. So probably 1/6 scale. The Sig's got the 62-inch wingspan and Byron's got 90. Now if I do the math and add 45.2% to the wingspan of the Sig Ryan, I come up with within a thousandth of an inch of the 90-inch wingspan. But if I take that same 45.2% and add it to the chord of the Sig, which is 11 3/8, I come up way over that, like 16 and something. And the width, the chord length on the Byron is 14 1/8. So we're gonna have to take some provisions for that. So What I'm going to do going forward is obviously we got a built fuselage here, but the wing and everything else for the SIG is not built, and the Byron needs all that. So I'm going to use the SIG plans to develop the plans for the Byron. Now the wing cord is going to be a little different since, you know, scaled up version would be way wider than what this is. So I'm going to get a paper template of these here, the rib cross sections there, and I'm going to compare both sides to make sure that they're close or dead accurate, and then we'll figure out the wingspan, and we're going to build the wing for the SIG, and we'll build the wing for the Ryan at pretty much the same time. We're going to keep these going step by step together. If I get the fuse done on the SIG, I'll get the fuse done on the Byron. When I build the wings for the SIG, I'm going to build the wings for the Byron. Same with the tail surfaces and stuff. And I think that's where we're going to start, is on the wing, because that's going to be the most complex of it all, especially with the Byron, because it's going to be, we're going to have to do something in here for getting the wings to slide on and all that. So anyways, I'm going to go clear the workbench off over there at the building table, and we'll kind of go from there on it. So, and start getting some wings built. Okay, so I've done a little bit of planning here, and I kind of like to show you where I'm at and what all these lines over here mean and all that. So basically, when you're, and I've said this quite a few times in the past, especially when we're, you know, drawing up our own stuff or making changes in that, you know, these plans they don't have to be super detailed. You don't have to draw every line for every, you know, square inch, like the spar and the ribs dimensions and stuff like that. It's just a guide for you to build a straight wing. Now, this one's quite easy because it doesn't have any taper to it, and it's a constant chord wing. Yeah, it's got some taper towards the end, but it's a constant chord wing, so it's not like the rib profile is going to change because you cut a little bit of it off, right? So here we go. Hey, where are we at? Well, I started with a rib size, so I came up to the conclusion through math that each panel is going to be 35 7/8 long, and that includes, make sure you're keeping your measurements straight. That includes the the wingtip. So the wingtip, spirals in. So basically, it's going to be at your widest point of your wing. This is pretty symmetrical, from what I can tell. It starts a little earlier here than it does here, so it does have that kind of egg-shaped panel there. So I drew a rib template off of the fuselage, right? Okay. And came up with that. Now this is going to be the whole size of the rib, sheeting and everything, wingtips, leading edge, trailing edge, ailerons, all that, flaps. And then, so I started out with a base measurement of 37 7/8, and I drew a box. And that's going to be my wing panel, right? So, and then I looked up and Googled what where the balance point is at on this thing, and it's 4.5 inches back. So that tells us where our spar is going to be at. 4.5 inches back from the leading edge, right there. Okay. And then I looked at the 3-view here, and I don't know if I've ever explained how to look at a 3-view, and I could be a little wrong on this. This is only my own figuring, but it shows all the rib details, right? How the rib spacing, where everything's at, how wide your flap is, how wide your ailerons is, and then it's scaled in feet, right? So that's your scale. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are, and then you got a half, so that's 6 inches. Okay. So I looked up the size of the real Ryan STA, and I figured out it's a 29-foot, 11-inch wingspan. That's 359 inches, since we work in inches and not feet. So 359 inches, divide that by 4, gets us pretty close to the 90-inch wingspan. The 90-inch wingspan is from wingtip to wingtip, And of course we got a center section, so that's 18, 18 and a quarter inches wide. So we subtract that from there, and that gives us our wing panel. But if you take 359 and divide it by 4, you come up with like, I think it's like 90 and 0.01 or something like that. I don't really remember off the top of my head. So you can take your calipers, your veneers here, for rib spacing, right? We'll go to a center rib. They're all the same. Anyways, it ended up being about a foot. Right at a foot. Well, 12 divided by 4, that's 3 inches. And that's where my rib spacing is at. So that's a scale rib spacing. Now that's important on the Ryan because while it did have an aluminum clad fuselage, it also had, it only had aluminum on the leading edge. The rest of this was fabric covered. So, you're going to see all these. This is an open rib structure. It's not fully sheeted. It's fabric covered like a cub wing. And this is aluminum up here. Right? So, anyways, that's where we're at. Now, the next point, that part where we're going to get into is, how are we going to attach the wing? Byron usually, it looks like you put a couple spars in here and they had their plate coming out, and that got all glued in there. And then you would have had a receiver over here, and you would have put 2 screws into each, kind of like the Flying King video. The way I got it attached, and with that spar arrangement. So I'm going to have to start looking for some aluminum extrusion that will meet the width requirement here with a spar in the middle to give it strength. And that's how we're pretty much going to do this one. I can't think of any other way to really do it. So we're going to have 2 chunks of aluminum in here where the spar lands, or plywood in here where we're going to have to be careful and figure out how to, that's pretty constant in there no matter where it ends up at. And then we'll, countersink some holes in here, and that's where, probably from the below, so you don't see it as much. But you get the idea. Then we'll just, we'll slide that in, and we'll tighten the grub screws up, and the wing will be attached. Yeah, so that's kind of the plan there. But anyways, I kind of did that looks about right on the aileron and flap arrangement with my wingspan. And then for this, for the wingtip, you can see I made several. I measured the scale aileron so I could get to the point, here, where it is here. So I knew where it ended. That didn't look right. It was just too sharp, and I was never going to get my full wingspan. So I moved everything over, and this is the aileron here, and this is the line here. And what I did is I have this, and I put a pin in here and a string, and I drew a circle. You can see that one's perfect and goes with that. That wasn't sharp enough, so I did it again, but I did it on just this half and got pretty close, and then I smoothed it out. A little bit artistic here. You only got to do it once, because the way I'm planning on doing this is that, okay, so this is where our rib structure is going to end, right? This is going to be our aileron right here. This would be a good place to put a block in there to sand that to shape. We'll cut this rib off here and sand a steeper taper into that. Blend this all together, and then we'll do a plywood rib like I did on the cauldron, and then we'll meet up with the airfoil with balsa and sculpt and sand. And that's, by doing it that way, I have one template once I'm done building it, and I can cut that template out and make it out of plywood, and then make the, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like I said on the cauldron here, it works really good. Plywood sandwich between 2 chunks of balsa wood. That works good. I mean, gives you a place to sand to, so you don't take away too much of the contour, and more accurate outline, and definitely have some dent resistant with the piece of plywood in there. So yeah. Anyways, I need to figure out the wing mounting stuff, and that'll be the next step. I'm not going to be able to cut any wood in this because, well, we're still planning. You know, I mean, you want to do this once and have all the materials on hand. So the next step will be figuring out our spar thickness, how big that's going to be, and that's going to be determined by the aluminum extrusion, if I can find something that'll work. And then, you know, leading edge material will probably be pretty big. This is our Airlawn. The probably going to do it a lot like the Sig Ryan here. He's got a spar there. Well, they actually got a couple spars, so they got top and bottom there. That might be what we do. We might do a top and bottom. We might do another spar at the 4.5 inch mark for balancing. We got another spar here and of course a trailing edge for putting ribs in and stuff. So, and then we got to figure out how we're going to attach the flying wires and stuff like that, where those are going to go. So, anyways, I'm going to cut this video off here. Just that way I can get something uploaded on it and get the project started. We might have to pause on this after a little while once I get back to the cauldron and get the parts that I'm waiting for on that. But maybe that'll come in, and then we'll be waiting on stuff to start this project. Get it off the table anyways and get something built. So anyways, we'll catch you guys on the next one. And again, happy Thanksgiving, and hope you guys enjoyed all the food this weekend. So we'll see you on the live stream Sunday afternoon.